life-giving information. So it's great when you can do that every morning. Okay, so I think we're recording, which is good. Okay, it's a really important day today. I thank you for being here. A new business venture, teaching. I've got a few businesses already, so I need to reduce that, I think, but it's definitely something I should think about. So thank you for being here today. As I've mentioned throughout these days that I've been with you over these last 4 days, the run up to this last day has been actually the day that my marriage came to an end, when I told my husband that the marriage was over. And so it's actually a big milestone for me as well. And I know, that's why I set this up for this week, for me to remember the journey that I've been on. And I look back and I must say, it's been interesting. It's been challenging. There's been so many lows. There's been so many highs. And obviously the last few years, things have settled down and been fine. Initially, it's really tough. Like the things that you guys are going through right now, it's really tough. And it gets better. You're going to have bad days and you're going to have good days. And initially, there's a lot of bad days. And not so many good days, but that changes. If I can just give you some hope, they will, you know that you are going to be fine, and those good days will come, and you'll have more and more of those good days. And just before I start, I wanted to just share a message that actually one of my clients sent me this morning, which is really kind of her to drop me a little message. Let me see if I can work out how to do this. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. This was a message I got this morning, and to the person, I don't know if they're on today, but thank you so much for the message. If the only thing that my divorce has done is brought courage to other people to leave situations that aren't working for them, if me going through this and all the learning that I've had, not only from all the legal experience I have, but my personal experience, if it has meant that other people are being empowered, not to run and leave their marriages, because that's not what I want, but actually been empowered to leave difficult situations, maybe stand up and say, this isn't working for me. I don't have to stay in this situation if it isn't working. So I'm hoping that the knowledge I've got can help move you guys forward. And it was really nice, 13 years of living your life on your terms. And that is how it feels, that you can live your life on your own terms. So just wanted to share that message from this morning. And what I will do now is tell you a little bit about, and thank you for your messages in the chat as well, celebrating the day you took your power back and stood up for myself. And that's how it feels. That's what today feels like, actually. You're absolutely right with your words. It does feel like a celebration of the day that I took my life back and live it on my terms now. And I am really clear that I will only live my life on my terms. It's really important that we take back our power. Massive milestone. Yes, thank you. Okay, so the emotional journey is so hard. You have to stay true to yourself and remember why you have to do this. Yes, really important. Your sessions have given me hope. I can still have a life after 30 years of marriage. I can re-find my identity. Yes, you can. It's actually really fun trying to find out who you are again, going out and doing new things, and finding out what your passions are now, your hobbies, trying to discover who you are is so much fun as well. I was unable to attend yesterday. Was there a replay video sent? Yes, I think it was sent. I'm sure Nelma will tell me. I didn't get the replay yesterday got the others. Okay. Nelma, could you put a link maybe in the chat box, but also we will be sending out an email with all the replay links. So you'll have all of them in one email. I think that's today, Nelma, that you're sending them out, but do let me know in the chat box. I've got a direct message. I hope you're feeling okay today. I'm sure it would be a feeling of mixed emotions. We never enter marriage to break it, but do have to get out of it and take charge of our lives, as we have just one life. Sending hugs. Yeah, I remember when I got my decree absolute, which is what it was called then, I thought I would feel happy. I thought I would feel this sense of joy, but actually it didn't feel like that. I felt very sad, reflective. I thought I would be out having a party, made all these plans for a party, but it wasn't how I was feeling. I felt pretty sad that it had come to that. I felt pretty sad because through that journey, my mental health had suffered so much. My children had issues. There were times when I was suicidal, which, with young children, I regret feeling like that. But that's the things that can happen when you're going through such a dark time. Luckily, I did get some help, and I'll talk a bit about that. I was homeless for a period with the 3 girls, and we slept on people's floors. We lived in B&Bs. I was in between family houses. And so we had some really dark times during the divorce. And when that decree absolute landed, we were just starting to become stable. I just managed to buy a house, not in the area I wanted, not the house I wanted, but it was that place of shelter, and it gave us our strength back. But at that time, I didn't feel happy. I felt sadness more than anything. And so you just never know how you're going to feel. I think I was grieving quite a bit at that time, and it took me time to move on from grief. And so you won't know necessarily how you're going to feel at the other side. But whatever you feel, just sit with it, reflect on it, and slowly you'll be able to move forward. So you are right. It is a day of celebration for me because I'm 13 years on. But you do think about what could have been if things were different. But maybe I think that this was my purpose in life, to be able to bring support to people. And I think when you've found your purpose in life, you can't regret what brought you here. Obviously, I wish I'd never had to go through that, but it's also brought me lots of people that I'm able to support, and I hope I'm doing them justice and bringing something to them. So I can't regret it. I've got 3 beautiful girls from my marriage, and me and my ex-husband, we still see that we're a family, just a different family. So yeah, life moves on. Things are very different for me, and things are going to be very different for you as well. It's just a matter of you getting through, keeping your strong energy, your positive energy, and charging through this time. I understand how you feel after your divorce. I got my CMS letter yesterday. Maintenance will start. Brilliant. Although I'm relieved and maintenance amount is more than I expected, there is a sense of sadness. Maybe another step towards formally ending a marriage, though I've been separated for months. Yeah, every step feels hard. Every time you get that document, when you submit your divorce application, when you get that conditional order, when your consent order goes through, every stage feels hard and you feel reflective. I'd like to remain anonymous, but wish to share I've been married 40 years plus. It's always been fraught, difficult, challenging. I have just found the courage, aged 60 years, to file for divorce. I do not know what the new landscape will be, but at least it will be free of trauma and drama. Yes, and then thank you for sending positive vibrations. We're so scared of the unknown, aren't we? And that kept me stuck. I should have probably left my marriage in year 2. I knew there was difficulties, but I held on tight. I also tried my best to save the marriage. I'm not saying I was the only one trying, but I tried my best to save the marriage. I tried everything to get my head around this, that maybe I have to live in it as it is. But it got to a point where I couldn't continue anymore. And I was so scared of the unknown. And it was that stopped me. I was scared. I didn't know where I was stepping into. Life is an unknown. But actually, what I have found is that I can create the life that I want. And every day I know that that's in my hands. I can live an inspired life, a life that is full of positivity, and a place where I don't do drama. I don't get involved in drama. And I like that. I don't have to have that around me. And my boundaries are strong for myself, with my children, with other people. And I've had to learn that through the years. So, yes, I get that sometimes we don't know what's going to happen next, but you do know you'll have peace and happiness because that is within you and in your hands. One friend of mine who has gotten divorced is afraid to apply for financial settlement when she knows she will be a beneficiary. She's having sleepless nights. The steps are tough. Path would be tough, but probably there would be peace at the end of it. Yeah, she's a beneficiary, and I'm assuming to somebody's will. If you're a beneficiary in the future, if you're going to inherit something in the future, that's not part of your divorce now. So she may not need to worry. Hopefully that helps. But thank you so much. I'm going to stop talking about me now. And I want to start looking at how I can help you. Do let me know how you have found the session so far, what your takeaways are, anything that you can share with me. I always love hearing from you. So while I'm just getting ready to share my screen, I would love it if you could share how you found it, what you've taken away. Have you got some hope that things are going to be fine? Anything that you feel, it would be great to hear from you. Okay, let me just start looking at sharing my screen. Oh, where has it gone? Can't share my screen. Can't seem to find it. That's strange. There we go. Hopefully you can see that okay. It tells me that you can, but yes, let me know in the chat box if you can see my screen. Okay, so this is the final day. I can't believe we're finishing here. It's been an amazing 4 days, so I do appreciate all the interaction that you've given, all the sharing that you've done. It is brave to share. And I'm glad that it's filling you with hope for the future and you're looking forward to peace. Hold on to that feeling, it will come. You've got a calm, collected, informative approach that instills hope for a journey that is still a little scary and uncertain. Please let us know if you have any more talks. I do a talk every Wednesday at 9:30 on all different subjects. So you will, now that you've joined this, you will get emails from me about them. Feel free to come to any of those talks that you want to come to, and hopefully they will help you. What are we talking about today? So, we've talked a lot about the different elements of the divorce process, whether it is how to start the application, the timeline, how you bring finances and children into the divorce timeline. Also, I've gone a bit deeper into finances with you because that is such a topic that people need to know about. It's a little bit complicated, but hopefully I was able to give you some steps to take on how to document the finances that you have, what information you need to put together, and then what is fairness, what factors do you need to take into account, and what documents do you need to be able to give effect to your financial agreement, or if you end up going through court, what that could look like. Yesterday, I talked a bit about children and what the law says around children and how you can get to that agreement as well. What is taken into account and what kind of orders could you get? What do you need to put into your agreement, and the orders that you get as well? Things like handover, what happens on the children's birthdays. So hopefully that was useful for you too. But bringing all this together, now I wanted to tell you about the different experts in this space. What kind of support is out there? Because I can give you lots of information, but you may also need to touch base with experts in the field, and different experts, because lots of people will say this is a process that it's a legal process. But this isn't just a legal process. This is so much more than that. It's an emotional process. It's a financial process. It's a complete change of your life. You are starting afresh. You are looking at a new chapter in your life. You are doing different things with your children now, because as parents, if you are splitting up, what happens to them? So there's lots of things happening here, and your emotions are going to be all over the place. Lots of really important decisions for you to make. And of course, there is legal support out there, but you need a bit more than just legal support. This isn't just a legal process. This is the change of your life. So there's lots of things that you need to be aware of, and that's what I want to talk about a bit about today. And why is support even important? Why do I even talk about this? With support, you can gain knowledge. So the support that I've given you over these few days, you're gaining knowledge, hopefully, you're getting some resilience, you're getting some guidance. All of this is support that you will need. You need to gain knowledge. This is a time where you need to soak in as much as you can, because you will be asked to make decisions. You may get advice from experts, but ultimately the decisions are yours. And you can only make good decisions from a place of being informed. And that's why it's important that I empower you, that your other experts that you come across empower you to make the best decisions. You can only make the best decisions with knowledge. There's lots of experts that could be in your dream team, and that's what we're looking at. We want you to have a team of people that are looking after you, but we need to keep your costs down, because all of you will be thinking, well, great, I could get a team. That's possible, but how am I going to keep my costs down? Because I can't afford to spend 80,000 myself on this, because we don't have the funds to do that. So I'll talk to you a little bit about costs, and I know that somebody's asked that as a direct message. Can I revisit the costs around the divorce process? You're talking about the application and court fees and other costs as well. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I will tell you a little bit more about how I work. I didn't want to make it so much about me over the last few days, but I know so many of you have messaged to ask, so I will drop you some information at the end about how I work. So let's get started. Why do you need support? And some of you will know that you just need to get some help. Emotional support is really important, because if you can get your mindset right, if you can get your emotions at least stable, if you can feel into some positivity around this time, you will emotionally be able to get through this time. And as I said to you, my mental health really suffered. And so I talk about emotional support and your mental state a lot. Lawyers generally don't. But if we can keep you strong, if we can keep your energy right through this process, not only will you come out of it okay, your children will come out of it okay, but also you may end up having a reasonable relationship with the other person, which is really important. And that is what we want to foster as much as we can. I met up with a client, was it last week? And she's come out of this process so well. Her and her ex-husband have got such a lovely relationship. And it's amazing to see what she has done. And she tells me it is about the energy that she's put into this. And I am sharing inspired stories. I'm bringing a YouTube video series about people's stories that have been through a divorce to bring you more hope and more knowledge on how you can change things. And her story is one of the stories I will share, how she changed her energy and how she looks at things to bring about the outcome that she has, which has really been beneficial for her, her children, and her ex-husband as well. So that emotional support, how are you going to get that? You need practical assistance, because this isn't just emotions. There's practical things to do. You might be transferring the house into your name. How are you going to do this? What do you need to know about that? I was talking to a client the other day, and we were talking about whether to pay off a mortgage, whether to use the money that she's got for something else. And that's just practical knowledge on what to do with proceeds to get her to the right stage. Information and guidance, which is what we've been doing today. I've been giving you information, and as much as it isn't completely tailored to your circumstances, when I work with people, obviously it becomes tailored to what they need, and very, very specific to their situation. And sometimes the situation that we're talking about, we could keep going down a legal route, but we've got to use psychology, we've got to use what we know about people to bring about the best outcomes as well. So guidance can come in different forms. You also need support to sense check your decisions. You will be making a lot of decisions, and you need people to bring sort of more stability, because you might be making decisions from emotions. You might be making decisions from anger. You might make decisions from bitterness. And I have been in that place where I've had to make decisions, and I had a choice where I made those from. Started off from anger, and I felt very, very angry that certain things had happened. And as time went on, I knew that I could change. I was in control, and I could change the outcome for all of us. And I decided that I wasn't going to deal with this from a place of hurt, anger, or bitterness, or the past. I literally wanted what was best for my children, and that's the only place that I would come at it from. And sometimes you need somebody to be able to guide you in that. You also need a safe space. Really important that you find a safe space, because even though it doesn't feel like it's expert support, it will be support that you need at a time where you need to talk. And sometimes we can't keep talking to our family and friends. So this is why it's important you look at support. We talked a bit about emotional support, and this was a big thing for me, because I really needed some help. And at the time when I was going through my divorce, I didn't have any money. I really struggled with funds. So I had to look for things that did not cost very much. And some of you might find yourself in this same space as well. Are you looking at a place where you don't have funds? So how are you going to afford all of these things that I've put down here? Let me know if that is you. You might be struggling for funds, and so you can't actually afford to go to a psychotherapist or a hypnotherapist or any of these things. I mean, you've got the first element is family and friends. You will have a crew of people that have got your back. Some people have family support, some people don't. I come across a lot of people that don't get family support. Hopefully you have support of your friends there to have your back so that you can talk, you can sense check things. Even sometimes when you don't talk and you just go out and you have fun, that is also support. If you are out enjoying yourself, feeling a level of joy in that moment, that helps you get through. Find the things that you enjoy doing. Because I didn't have funds, what I had to do was I went to my GP and I spoke to them about my mental health, and they referred me over to a counsellor. Initially, I didn't really like counselling because it just felt like I was opening up wounds, talking about things that were affecting me with almost with no outcome. I'm not the kind of person that just wants to talk. I need something to be able to do to help myself on the other side. But then they referred me to a counsellor who was absolutely amazing. He was very much solution focused, not just you talk. And I never want to be a victim and just keep talking. I want to find ways to change my mindset, to change what's happening, to find the tools to support myself. And he was absolutely that person. He was actually a family mediator as well, which helped. And I trained to be a family mediator as well. But he was absolutely amazing. He was referred to me by my GP. I had the sessions at my GP surgery, which I could walk to. So it was excellent for me. If you are going through mental health difficulties, do reach out to your GP. Lots of people will say, well, does that go against me? And it doesn't. It doesn't necessarily go against you, because we expect that you're going to go through a hard time. We expect a level of anxiety and a level of stress during this time. It doesn't necessarily go against you that you've been to your GP, unless the other person is trying to show that you are mentally unfit to look after your children. Then obviously you've got to be careful what you say. Okay, so hopefully you've got family and friends to talk to support you, to take you out, to make you forget, but also to maybe do some babysitting, maybe drop off some shopping when you're going through a hard time, whatever you need for moral support. There's also lots of free support in groups. I've come, when I went through it, there wasn't so many groups, but there's so many groups now. And I personally know of so many where people get support. It may just be support around the legal process, that it may be support, just lots of people going through this where you go out, sometimes you're talking, sometimes you are forgetting, sometimes you are just out having fun and making a new group of friends. There are lots of support groups like that. I also started a support group. We have a WhatsApp group and we meet in Harrow. We haven't done so many meetings because of the summer holidays, but we do have things going on. So, reach out if that's something you might be interested in. But there's lots of groups out there that will bring you support, that bring knowledge even because people have been through it. Be careful about where you get legal knowledge from though, because, the auntie down the street will say, I know somebody who went through it and they got the family home, so you should be making sure you get the family home. Somebody that one of your friends will say, my friend went through it and got so-and-so. People always will give you legal advice, even though they're not legally trained. So you need to be careful about where you get that sort of advice. But everybody's circumstances are different. Just because auntie down the road, her nephew got the house doesn't mean that you're going to get the house. So we have to look at your individual situation, but there's lots of support out there. There's so many charities now that support you. There's NCDV, which is a domestic abuse charity. There's lots of men's charities, lots of female charities. And we have a list of charities actually for one of the talks that I do. So maybe that's something we can send out together with the replays. I'll just make a note of sending out some sources of support, because I think it's important that we find places where we can get support if we can't afford it. And somebody sent a direct message. I have tried to reach out via Hestia, which is a support network for a counsellor, but they've not been very good with putting me in touch. I get lots of support from family and friends. I self-referred for counselling because I wasn't deemed unstable enough, if that makes sense. Yes. I've got good family support. However, I'm not seeing that support for my husband from his family. I've offered to help via my work support, but he's being stubborn and won't accept help. It's hard for me to see that after being together for so long, that I guess that he's struggling, but I've been advised I need to focus on me. Yeah, it's very difficult. I'd be interested in joining the WhatsApp support group if possible. Thank you for that direct message. Nelma, will you just drop a private message back, giving my email address so that I can reach out? Okay, I'll have a look at some of these messages again. But yes, there's lots and lots of groups that can help you. So we can send out a list of these groups that are and charities that can provide support on different levels, not just emotional support, but different levels. So it's always good for you to have that. So I've listed out some of the types of experts that you could go to: counselors, therapists. As I said, I wasn't great with counseling because I needed someone who gave me a focus and a solution and something I could hold on to carry on using, not just talking, because I'm very good at talking, as you know. Trauma abuse therapists, if you feel like you've been through some trauma, this will keep playing out. So reaching out to somebody who can offer that can really help you as well. psychotherapists, hypnotherapists. Sometimes if you're not able to speak, hypnotherapy can be an amazing tool to change things. And actually, when my daughter was going through a bit of a hard time, she went to counseling. It didn't really help for her. Play therapy when she was younger was good. Counseling didn't help. She just came across really positive, like nothing was wrong. So what we did was I took her to a hypnotherapist who helped her with anxiety and her mental health, and she didn't need to speak. And she had this pebble. I mean, I wasn't allowed to be in the room, so I didn't actually know what happened, but she had this pebble in her pocket, in her blazer pocket, and she would hold that when she was feeling anxious, and that seemed to help her. And she tells me, she's 22 now, but she tells me that hypnotherapy was the biggest thing that changed her life. So something like that can really make a difference. Emotional freedom technique is an interesting technique because actually from that, it's tapping. It's called tapping, which some of you will know. And you tap on various points. And once you've learned to do this, say, for example, you've got some anxiety coming up. If you tap on these points, it can lessen your anxiety. So you can go on YouTube and learn these techniques, which actually can really help you. And then that's free. Tapping really helps. And lots of people are saying they use that. So that's really good. Try something like that, which is free. You can do it at any time. Reiki and other forms of healing, if you're that way inclined, can really help. So, from that point of view, it's a good thing to try. I actually tried it, loved it, and I trained in Reiki myself. So I don't do it on anybody else, but I can do it for myself and for my children. To help them. I really like the idea of life coaching because you are getting through a difficult time, but that person is bringing a vision of your future as well to you all the time, what's possible to you. I had a life coach, and I was really lucky when I went through this. I didn't have any money, so I was almost putting out there that I need some help, and somebody came and offered me help for free. And she was an NLP practitioner, CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. She was a life coach. She did some other therapies as well. And the life coaching element, I mean, I loved all the therapies, but life coaching was so amazing because she helped me move forward with my life and gave me hope. So there's lots of different things there. Yes, if you're happy to chat about your experience, then reach out to me because these inspiring stories, these nuggets that I want to get from people is about everyday people that have been through things, that are going through things now. So happy to, reach out to me. Nelma, could you just put my email address in the chat box so anybody who wants to join the WhatsApp group, if you're happy to chat on my YouTube series, if you're happy just to chat to me so that I can share with other people the things that you've done, then, at least I can share and help other people. So it'd be great to hear from you. I think Nelma's put my email address there. I also went to charity shops and I picked up books that helped me. In the night, and I found the nights really hard, I would open that book at a page, just any page, and read it to find some hope in there, something in there that would just make me feel better. And so I had certain books next to my bed that I'd got from a charity shop, and I would open them at a page and read. And I've been lucky that I've been to see the authors because I felt like they saved me so many times. I needed to be in that space. Gratitude is such a big thing. I feel so much gratitude for everyone who's helped me, everything I have, all the blessings. It's something that you could add to your day, spending 5 minutes thinking about what you're grateful for. It changes your mindset, makes you feel more positive. These are the kind of things I did because I couldn't afford very much. But having a mini practice in the morning, a 5-minute meditation, 5 minute of journaling and gratitude, and then I would do some exercises because I couldn't afford the gym. Did, some exercises at home. I walked, I ran, I danced in the kitchen, put loud music on with my children while we were tidying up, and we danced and sang. It changed the energy in the room. made me feel better, shifted me out of how I was feeling. So think about things like that as well, that don't have to cost a lot. But a really important thing to get to grips with, really. Financial support. So there's lots of financial support out there. You may have come across some of this already. I do think it's important when you are going through this to get some advice from a financial advisor, from a mortgage broker. Most of you will need to speak to a mortgage broker or financial advisor anyway, because if you're thinking of buying a house, if you're thinking of transferring the family home into your name, you will need to get an idea of your mortgage capacity. So from that point of view, you're likely to need somebody like this. I have a list of experts, so if you do want details of anybody, let me know. I don't get anything from them. They're people I've used or people that my clients have used and been happy with them. So happy to share information if that helps you. But a financial advisor can look at your divorce settlement. So say, for example, I've put together, 4 or 5 proposals for my clients, different options that are available to them. I've checked the viability. I know whether these are possible. I know that they're affordable. I can see the benefits in them, and I take each client through this, what the benefits are of each settlement, the negatives, whether it's possible, whether the other person will agree. If it's a priority for you, is it on their priority system? Do we need to tweak it to make it more desirable to the other person? So we work out all these proposals. I've sense checked them. I've checked that they're viable. I know that a court will accept them. So we've got this work done. What I ask them to do when we've chosen the one that they're going to start with, take it to a financial advisor. See if the products that we're thinking about that you might need are possible for you. Because obviously I'm not an expert on financial advice. I've got a certain amount of knowledge around this whole thing. I have properties. I understand the financial side a bit, but I am not an expert. So I send my clients off to a financial advisor to have a look at this proposal. Is it actually viable? Can we get these products? Is there another way of putting this together that actually is financially, from a financial advisor point of view, better? So for example, my client who I was talking to, who had a certain amount of money, should she pay off her mortgage with that money? Should she pay off an investment property mortgage with that money? Should she invest that money for better returns? So I've got an idea of maybe what she should do. But I'm not a financial advisor, so I can give her some guidance, send her off to a financial advisor. Luckily, the financial advisor believed the same as me, but they did actually give her some other information that I wasn't aware of. So think about doing that, because they are part of your strong team. See them as somebody who you need to make sure you get the best settlement. There's financial advisors that specialize in people going through divorce. They're used to looking at settlements. They're used to putting this all together. So think about who you could use for that. Mortgage brokers you may have come across, but again, I always ask my clients to get mortgage capacity, an idea of their mortgage capacity, so they will go to a mortgage broker. Pensions advisors sometimes you don't need. It depends on your pension. It depends on what you're going to do with your pension. So for example, if your pension is worth a good sum of money, and you're thinking of a pension share, it may be necessary because there's not a lot of other assets, then you need to know which pension to do a pension share from. And a pensions advisor can guide you. If, say, for example, you've agreed on a pension share, but you don't know what percentage needs to be moved, because what we're looking at is getting equal income on retirement. And obviously the circumstances for both of you will be so different. That pension share may not be 50%. It may be 60-40 to be fair. It may be 30-70, depends on so many factors. A pension advisor can write a report and tell you how your pension needs to be shared to make it fair. Some people don't want to spend the money because a pension advisor, a report from them can cost about £2,000. If your pension is worth £400,000, it's definitely worth getting some advice to work out the best way of dealing with it. But of course, if you don't want to get a pension report, you could decide yourselves how to share it. It may not necessarily end up being the fairest way. Wealth management is really interesting because if you've got different assets, and as I mentioned about my client who did have different assets, what you want is this set up in a way that maximizes your wealth, maximizes the returns, maybe income, and they can show you how to put things together to make sure that moving forward you meet your priorities and your goals, and it's almost designed to get you there. You know, financial advisors, wealth management advisors can do cash flow analysis that show you what your cash flow will look like in 10 years on retirement when your children go to university. If your priority is to have a massive holiday every year, how will you fund that? Where will that money come from? So they can guide you on how to hit those goals. And obviously accountants are there. If there's a business, then you may need an accountant to value a business. You may need somebody like a company valuer, a company surveyor who values businesses. And so accountants might be part of your dream team if you've got a business. You might find that an accountant is part of the other person's team because they've got a business. So accountants might be necessary. They can help you with different things like capital gains tax, tell you if it's necessary for your settlement. You may need to pay capital gains tax, and that could be a liability that needs to be taken into account. We have other organizations like estate agents that will come to do valuations. And obviously, please go for free valuations as much as you can. So that's some of the financial support that's there. And don't feel that you've got to take everything. You might just need to buy in the help that you need when you need it. Don't go full out going for everything. So if you need a financial advisor, they usually will give you a free call. You find out whether they're the right person for you. You find out what their charges are. And if you need them to look over your divorce settlement, how much are they going to charge you for that? Buy in the help when you need it. And that's something I say to everybody, just buy it in, because don't feel that you've got to have everything ready all the time. The next area of support is legal support. And I did say to you, there's so many people that can support you. And legal is one aspect of a big picture, because this is not just a legal process. You are an individual, you're more than a process. Legal support is important because you need to know your rights. You need to know how the process works, how you can change this process to suit you. You will find lawyers say that this is how it has to be. I will always say to my clients, tell me what you want or what you're scared of or where you think the problem is going to be. Let's adjust this to fit you, because there's lots of ways of adjusting it. We have to think creatively to make sure you get what you need, rather than seeing this as a process that just has to be followed. So there's different levels of support here as well. Some of you will have heard of mediation, and mediation is a really important element to getting to agreements. A mediator is a professional that has been trained to facilitate conversations between couples, if it is family mediation, to help them reach agreements on different elements. The mediator is always neutral. It's a neutral third party. They are there to help you reach decisions on finances. They help you get financial disclosure, help you make decisions around your children. There's also lots of other decisions they can help you with, even things like when are you going to separate and live separately? Who's going to live where? How will your mortgage and bills get paid in the family home? How will the other person who's not living at the family home support themselves? Maintenance, collecting belongings, so many things. You can reach decisions via a mediator. Mediation is absolutely voluntary, and this is what the government wants, because you can't force somebody to come to the table and negotiate. If they do not want to and you force them to come to mediation, what would happen is they will sit there and not do anything and not engage. And that is a waste as well. So mediation is absolutely voluntary. And I know that somebody's asked, do I do mediation now? And no, it's not something I offer anymore, but it is something I have done. But no, it's not something I do now. But it helps me with the training that I had, and the experience of that helps me with my clients now. If you get to an agreement with a mediator, the mediator will put this into a document. The document is just a note of your agreement. It is not legally binding in any way. So although you've got something that says this is what you've agreed, it's still not set and not legally binding until you have put it into a consent order for finances, for example. So once you've had mediation, you've reached an agreement, you get your consent order drawn up, submit that to the court, and it becomes legally binding. If you have reached agreements around the children, you may put this into a parenting plan. It's not legally binding, a parenting plan, but it shows your intention. So if for whatever reason that agreement failed and you ended up in court, you could show the court that you had this agreement. So you've got something in writing. But the situation around your children doesn't have to be legally binding. You can reach agreement. You can keep changing your agreement as the children grow up. Things should be fluid for children. They change. You know, they could do clubs on certain days. They might do football on Saturday, whatever it is. You need to adapt your agreement according to what the children need at different stages anyway. You can make it legally binding by getting a consent order, but usually that's quite a tricky thing. So most people don't do that. Mediation can come in different forms. It can be face-to-face. It can be online. So you can have mediation on Zoom. You can have mediation where you actually go to the mediator's office. I mentioned, I think it was yesterday, that you can have something called shuttle mediation, where you sit in different rooms and the mediator goes between you. So this is a way a mediator can help you if you're feeling intimidated, if you can't be in the same room as the other person, for whatever reason. You might have an injunction in place. It might just be that you can't think straight when that person is in front of you. So from that point of view, you might want to have shuttle mediation. If you're having mediation online, you can have breakout rooms where the mediator goes between breakout rooms, trying to get you to agreement. Obviously, it's much longer because the mediator is having to pass information across. With hybrid mediation, which I don't hear of very often, you can have your legal advisor in the room with you. Mediation hybrid mediation is hardly done. Because it becomes a different thing. Mediation is a place where it's just the two of you in the room and the mediator trying to get through to agreements. With hybrid mediation, your legal advisor is there to help you. But I think mediators don't like doing that so much. What is the general cost of mediation? Really interesting question. Mediation can be approximately £200 each. For a 90-minute session. And mediators don't have set costs, so they'll charge you according to, some people are solicitor mediators, so they come with 20 years of legal experience, and then mediators as well. They are likely to charge a lot more. Some mediators will charge £400 and share it between the two of you for a 90-minute session. So that's approximately the costs. Before you have joint mediation together, you have to have what's called a MIAM. And I can see that people are asking that question. A MIAM is a mediation information and assessment meeting. So in that meeting, as it says, it's to give you information about mediation. And it's also an assessment meeting to find out what issues need to be resolved, but also to find out whether there's any safeguarding concerns. Are you intimidated? Is that person aggressive? Are you scared of them? Has there been any domestic abuse in the past? It doesn't mean if you say yes to those questions, mediation can't go ahead. There may just need to be safeguarding situations put in place so that you feel comfortable. It might be that the mediator understands you a bit better, but they will assess whether mediation is appropriate. When you have done this meeting on your own, that's called a MIAM. And to start court proceedings, to go to court if you don't get to an agreement, in the court forms, so Form A for finances, C100 for children, the mediator has to sign to say that you've been for a MIAM. You can only start court proceedings generally if you have had a MIAM. Whether mediation went to joint mediation or not, as long as you've had a MIAM in the last 4 months, the mediator will sign that form for you. There are exceptions to this though. So, some people don't need to go to a MIAM. If you have an injunction against the other person, there's an exception. If there's an urgency, say for example, you have realized that the other person is about to abduct your child and move them to a different country, and it might be happening in 3 days' time, and you found out about it, you haven't got time for a MIAM. You just make your urgent application to court, and they'll probably give you an injunction to stop that person from traveling. You could get that day or the next day, so no time for a MIAM. So there are some exceptions to that, so just bear that in mind. The courts are very big on out-of-court dispute resolution at the moment. There were some changes this year to the family procedure rules that encourages everyone to consider mediation and other dispute resolution options before going to court. So even if you're at court, if the judge feels you haven't done enough to try and settle out of court, they will encourage you to go to mediation. So hopefully that gives you some idea on the information around this. If you're on low income, you can get publicly funded mediation. So if you are in the situation that I was in, you can get publicly funded mediation. You may not have to pay anything for your share of mediation, or you will only have to make a contribution. The other person may have to pay their £200, regardless that you get publicly funded mediation. So think about that. I did have mediation when I went through it because we were struggling to get to agreement. It didn't go too well for me. I was also trained as a mediator, so I don't think it helps when you know best practice for mediation as well. So it didn't work too well for me, but it did take us a step closer. I got disclosure from my ex-husband. So we were a step closer. There were some benefits in mediation. I could see where his issues were, where when he was pushed on certain things, he pushed back or he refused to give information. So I could see where our issues were, and then I could actually deal with it. So that helped me quite a lot. As much as mediation didn't help us get to agreement, we got to an agreement outside of mediation because I think he realized that we needed to, and I would keep pushing until this got settled. So who chooses the mediator? I saw that was a question that you asked. That could be you, it could be the other person. If the other person's got a solicitor, they may recommend a mediator. You've just got to make sure they're neutral. That's the important thing. The next group of legal experts on here are solicitors. You will have heard of solicitors, I'm sure. They work on an hourly rate, generally between £350 upwards plus VAT. So it works out to be around £420 per hour upwards. I do know people that have spent £800 an hour plus VAT. It can be very expensive. The benefit of a solicitor is they do everything for you. They will write your letters. You don't have to think too much. It's out of your hands. They will do everything for you. And for some of you, that might be something that you need. So if that is something you need, then a solicitor may be the right person for you. You don't necessarily need a solicitor to go through this process. Almost half of people getting divorced are doing it themselves now because people can't afford the fees that it could end up being. So most people that have instructed a solicitor, their fees will start off at approximately £10,000 starting point, going upwards. And upwards, we don't know what that's going to be. Some people will settle at £10,000. For some people, it may be 100,000. I personally know people that have spent 100,000 on solicitors. Some people will spend 150,000. The average cost, I don't want to scare you, letting you know that yours is going to cost like that. It may not. The average cost is about 18,000 per person in the UK. Some people, it may go much higher. I've got clients that spent £25,000 before they started working with me. They hadn't got to where they needed to, and they'd run out of money effectively. So we don't know what it's going to cost because it's based on time recording. It's based on the time they spend. So difficult to know what the cost will be. The other person may get a solicitor, and because then there's 4 people in this transaction of communication, obviously it can get costly, it can take time, and the solicitors hopefully won't write aggressive letters, but in my experience, they often do, which can make a situation more hostile than it needs to be. So if you are going to instruct a solicitor, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, just make sure the solicitor has the same ethos as you. If you want it to be collaborative, if you want it to start off being amicable, that they start off their tone that way. And then later on, if aggression is needed, if you need to become quite strong in your language, then that can come. So that's a little bit about solicitors. There's barristers here. Barristers, as you know, they represent you in court, but actually they can give you advice. So if, say, for example, you didn't have a solicitor and you just wanted to go and get a 1-hour conference with a barrister, they will go over your case and tell you what settlement you should go for, the different settlements that a judge might order. They can write statements for you, documents for you, and represent you in court. So the traditional way of instructing a barrister is via your solicitor. So it used to only be that you could instruct a barrister through your solicitor. You could never instruct directly. Things have changed now. You can instruct a barrister directly. It's called direct access. And lots of people are doing this. You are then in control of how much you are spending. You can be in contact with your own barrister, make sure they understand where you are going, what you are doing, and they have an idea of how to present your case. Can solicitors represent in court? Yes, they can. I did a lot of work in court. I would be doing about 5 or 6 cases in court every day. So solicitors can be there at the lower levels, so county court. When you go to the higher levels of the court system, and I won't go through that too much, you need to have a different level of qualification to be an advocate, a higher advocate. And so some solicitors can do that as well. But most solicitors can represent in court. What you will find is that they don't do it so much because they deal with the paperwork side in the office, and they'll instruct barristers to go out and do the court work for them, just maybe from a time point of view. But they can definitely represent you. But you can instruct a barrister directly now, which is a really good change, so that you could do most things yourself and just instruct a barrister. As I said to you, buy in the help you need when you need it. Don't just assume that somebody will do everything for you. And keep it low cost and do the best that needs to happen. The other option is Mackenzie Friends. You may have heard of a Mackenzie Friend. This is somebody who is not necessarily legally qualified, that can help you and guide you in court. They're not allowed to speak for you, but they can sit next to you during court proceedings. Normally, you can't have somebody in the courtroom with you. So if you have got a Mackenzie Friend, you would have to ask permission of the court whether that person can sit with you. If you say they're a Mackenzie Friend, they would be allowed to sit with you but not talk during the process. It's more moral support. Some judges don't like them and will not let somebody sit in the courtroom, but they are there just for moral support and maybe guidance outside of court, not to actually talk for you. But obviously it's a lower cost to a barrister. So the truth is you can do everything yourself. You don't need to have somebody do any of this for you. You could negotiate directly with the other person. You could do the legal process yourself, even though most of the forms asks for your solicitor's name. That doesn't mean you have to have one. Everything can be done by you. The only part that I suggest that you definitely don't do yourself without any help is your financial consent order, because this is a complex legal document that needs to have certain terms in it and needs to be written in a certain way. And you also don't want to make a mistake and end up being in a situation that wasn't the outcome you wanted. And by mistake, you've written it incorrectly. So most things you can do yourself, so you can keep your costs down and buy in the help you need when you need it. Obviously, there's lots of benefits to doing it yourself. Costs are low, you're in control. Solicitors, some people find them scary and cold. They just give you legal advice. They don't support you, hold your hand throughout. So people don't always like that. Solicitors don't necessarily explain things in clear language. They're talking about a legal process. They won't, if they do, if you do talk to them about your emotions and things going on, you're going to get charged. So your legal costs can go up. I often find that they see this as one process. They're not creative in their thinking as to find a solution for the client. They'll say, this is your only option, whereas I'll find lots of other options that could work. The problems with doing it yourself, because there are disadvantages as well, and we have to always balance out the benefits to the disadvantages. You might feel that you don't have enough knowledge to do it yourself. That's why you're here. You're getting knowledge from me because you don't necessarily have the knowledge yourself. You might not know where to start. You don't know what steps you need to take, what form you need to fill in. You might be worried about losing out or not protecting yourself. You might be emotional and you don't know whether you'll give away too much because you are emotional. And you might need someone to answer questions for you. And that's why when I went through my divorce and I was thinking about all these people who had no support, had no knowledge, the only option was solicitors. I felt like I needed to bring something different that provided support, that is all about you becoming empowered financially in your life as well as legally, but also it's, looking at solutions for you that fit well for you. And so that's why I decided to bring something different. So you've got all these options, and obviously I'm here as well with my own solution to help you. I help you to divorce in a way that increases your confidence. It's less stress. Obviously, this is a stressful process, but I don't want you to be stressed. I want you to have a place where you ask questions, where you're not worried about saying something, even telling me what's going on. You need a clear process so that you can design and live the life that you deserve, which is what all of you are going for, something that is a change of life, that is a life of peace and joy on the other side. So how do I do this? Let me tell you a little bit about one of my clients. This is obviously not her name. Annika is not her real name. And this particular client I saw maybe 3 weeks ago, and she showed me her, the way she's living her life now. I've seen the transformation that she's been through. And it's amazing to actually see how your clients are doing after this process. So this is her story. She has a child aged 10. She was working full time. She was earning less than her ex-husband. Her main asset was the family home. When I met her, she was really scared and uncertain. She didn't have the money for huge legal fees. She just didn't have it. And so she stayed stuck in this place because she didn't know how to move forward. Fear kept her stuck, but there was abuse in the relationships. And so therefore her self-confidence was low, her self-esteem was low, and she just couldn't see a way out. She wanted to stay in the family home. That was her absolute priority. And this is her words. She'd met me in 2017 and we met face to face somewhere random, and I told her what I did and she'd kept my number. I kept seeing her social media posts many times. The fact that I offered a fixed fee was interesting. She loved that she could do this within an affordable budget, and I think that was it. I decided to reach out to someone that offered this sort of program. So what is involved in the program and how did she do it? The first thing we did with her, because she was so scared, we looked at her vision, we looked at her priorities, and we created a roadmap for her. And what that meant was that she needed to do things a little bit differently because I needed her to get some clarity, feel confident, understand the process a bit more. So before she even told her husband, we worked on financial proposals. She was quite financially savvy. She knew the numbers. But she didn't know how to look at this thing. So we created financial proposals. We went through the pros and cons of each one, the viability of each one. I even had her journaling because things were coming up for her. And I said to her, journal on it. And she was journaling on it and really finding that self-awareness about what was coming up for her, what really she was going to go for. And we could do this before anything else started. We got her divorce application ready, saved, so that when she told her husband, she could submit it. And then we talked about how she would tell him, because I wanted to keep things amicable for her. I wanted her to come out of this fine, and him as well, and their child. And so we talked about how she would say it and how her communication would be around this time to try and keep that the hostility away, but also keep boundaries, because I needed her to be strong as well. So what else did we do? She had lots of challenges around financial disclosure. He didn't want to provide it, so that was a challenge that we had. I guided her step by step through the emotions that were coming up for her. She was very scared. She was very worried about things. I helped her with the negotiations, where she should start, what the next bit should be. He said this, what shall I do next? I offered him that, what shall I do next? And then once they'd reached an agreement, we put a holding agreement in place while she was waiting for her conditional order to come through. And then her consent order was ready and sent to the court. And she did everything from start to finish within 7 months. And obviously there's a timeline now with divorce. So, and she did go through the new divorce process, but her 7 months, we got everything ready. And then she knew what she needed to file after that, and she could do it herself. They reached a financial agreement which saved her to her top level about 150,000. She was willing to go up that much more. But it wasn't fair for her to go up that much more. And I had to keep bringing her back down and reminding her to take negotiations slowly, because she was doing it from a place of emotion. She believes she saved over 20K on legal fees. Her family home was transferred to her, and I was there guiding her through that. Obviously, she did have a solicitor doing it, but I was there. She continues as the main carer for her child, and Dad has a level of contact that he is happy with. And as a family, they're doing very well. She was really scared to start off with, but amicably managed to get divorced within a short space of time, stay in the house, and save herself money, which is what I'm really, I think is important. And so there was lots of things that she said about the process, and I'll tell you a bit about that. But this is how I work. Initially is preparation. Sometimes we need to put some steps in place around protecting you. Really important we don't miss that. Otherwise, there's things that could happen that we need to put in place. Yesterday, one of my clients got an injunction through, which protected her when all the charities said she couldn't get it. All the solicitors she spoke to said that she couldn't get it. And she came on a call with me and she said, you were the only one that believed it. And we did it together, and she achieved what she needed to protect herself and her child. So, whatever that means, we have to put it in place. We have to have a plan of what we're doing. And then there's a process, whether it's legal, whether it's transferring property, whatever it is. And then 5, obviously prospering. That's what I want to see you doing, living that vision of what your true authentic self is and the life that you deserve. This is a little bit about the program that I have. It's 6 months of support and guidance. I am there for all the questions that you have, for all the moments that you have a wobble, for all those dark days, as well as all the celebrations like we did yesterday. We celebrated someone getting their non-molestation injunction against the odds. We celebrated people getting to settlement, even though there were so many challenges. I do it with a fixed fee, because then you are not worried. You know that you can ask me as many questions as you need to. I help you with correspondence and documents that you need, legal documents, how to communicate with the other person, divorce application, financial proposals, settlement, negotiation, and it is done in a group setting. So you get this supportive community that is your champion as well in the background. I also bring other experts along as needed to come and talk to you too. This is what Annika said, because I had a call with her, which I like to do when my clients finish working with me. And she said that she is nicer than what I would expect from a lawyer. I don't know what you think about lawyers, but we're not all terrible, because she even added therapy, and I felt guilty that I was using her as a therapist. She was talking about her emotions a lot. The back and forth calls, intense time she spent with me meant a lot, and I respected that. The program works. Do your preparation and follow what I'm asking you to do. And she did that. On every call, she wanted to make it count and make the best out of it. It does work and can work within the 6 months, but you've got to be prepared to do the work as well. I'll be there to empower you, but you've got to be ready and have that clear vision of where you're going. So these were her actual words that I was able to get from the call that we had. And I asked her for some advice for how she made it work for herself. And this was what she said would be what she would tell other people. So I'm giving a limited offer. You know, today is a very important day for me. And so I wanted to bring something even more special to you from today. So you get my program. It's 2,500 generally. This is how much I charge. You get a resources area, 6 months of weekly calls. There's 3 weekly calls. So that's a lot of calls that you have access to. 6 months of messaging with me. So you can drop me a message. I'll drop you a voice note. I'll drop you a message back, guiding you, supporting you. You get resources. So if you need a template for a document, I'll send it. If you need, which form do I need for this? How do I fill it in? I'll help you with that. So it's a fixed fee for 6 months. And for this limited time, I'm offering an extra month because Annika did it in 7 months. And, you know, I think that it's nice to be able to add something extra. I want to pay forward all the people that were there to help me and to celebrate where I'm now. You'll get a free copy of my book, which is called The Divorce Planner. It's there to help you take action, to reduce stress, and for you to get the best outcome. I've also got a live event coming up in February. And so the first 5 people to join me will get an invite to this VIP event that's in February next year. The event is in Northwood. So so you know how you might get there. So that's my limited time offer. If this is of interest to you, then just drop me a message. You've got my email address, but Nelma will put also a link to how you can connect with me. If you would like to know a bit more, you want to know if the program is right for you, you want to know if these are the steps, if I can support you, feel free to jump on that link and give me some information so I can make sure that it is the right thing for you. And obviously follow me. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube channel, website, and my email address. So feel free to take a snapshot of that if you want to connect with me. I'm always sharing information. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll see my Wednesday calls anyway. They'll come up. I deliver them live on there. So you'll see them come up, but you'll see other things. These talks that I've started already, they'll be going up on there soon. And I'll probably be running a divorce clinic quite shortly as well, answering all the questions that people have that they don't know where to go to get the answers to. So look out for those things coming up, and a podcast in the future as well. So lots of exciting things for me. And that's where I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to answer some of your questions. So let's have a look at what you've been asking. I know some of them I've read out already, and I really appreciate the interaction that you've been giving me, because that really helps. I feel like I'm alone talking to a screen otherwise. Okay, I had a bad experience with a mediator. Somebody said, this fills me with hope for the future and I'm looking forward to peace. Could you revisit the cost I will incur in the divorce process? Yes. So you were looking at the court application fee and everything else. So to submit your divorce application, the fee is £593. To submit a financial consent order to the court is £53. So if you manage to get to an agreement on your finances, the court fee is slightly less. The 593 is always the same, whether it's a joint application or a sole application. you can get help with fees across the board for all court fees, and you may have other court fees that are needed. If you are on low income, if you are on certain benefits, search for help with fees, and you can then do an eligibility check to see if you are entitled to either pay no court fees or just pay a contribution. So it's worth checking that. If you have to start court proceedings for finances because you just can't get to an agreement, there is a fee for that. That's £303. So just bear that in mind, that there is a cost, but sometimes it's worth that cost just to get this resolved. My mental health took a real dip when I had some health challenges. Mediation has probably been the only thing that helped. I've been in fight or flight for 3 years. Yeah, it's really hard. I'm on universal credit and have been long-term financially controlled. It has a massive impact. Okay. I have good family support. However, I'm not seeing that support for my husband. I think I read out your message. I wish that was possible in my case. It's possible when the husband has been answering extremely manipulative narcissist who has been lying, cheating, and making you suffer every form of abuse, be it financial, emotional, and also extreme verbal abuse, who would repeatedly assault you, not take any responsibility, and would blame you. You become a trauma bonded victim. It's really hard to get out when you are trauma bonded. You feel sad and torn apart at the thought of a divorce, despite knowing fully deep inside that you can't take it anymore and it's just getting worse and worse. Yeah, it's really tough for you, and it's really hard to get out when you're feeling like that. The lady that I talked about, obviously Annika's not her name, but Annika, she also had some of your story, and she found it really hard to leave. But once you start taking those steps, then sometimes it can feel better. Obviously, the process is hard because whoever that person is that you're divorcing, things get worse during a divorce. So you may find some of these behaviors getting worse, but every day you're a step closer to coming out of it. And you can only come out of it with steps that you take. I know someone going through divorce who's using his uncle as a mediator. I don't think that is particularly emotionally intelligent. However, I think it's more about finances. With a mediator, should it be someone who is non-biased, someone neutral? Is it a good idea to use a family member to mediate? Lots of people do use a family member to mediate, and it can work. The problem is most family members will have a bias. If it's your family member, they'll have a bias towards you naturally. If it's the other person's family member, they will have a bias towards that person. So that's the difficulty with using family or friends. If you have somebody you trust and your ex-husband or wife trusts, then, and you know that they will be unbiased, they will be neutral, then it's definitely worth trying. I can't see why you wouldn't try it, but you need somebody you trust and who is absolutely neutral. You may decide to use a family member and then move on to a professional mediator if it doesn't work. It's just going to court is a last resort. So if it was me, I would try everything. And did I use family or friends? I did a little bit. Ultimately, I just found that when the chips were down, family and friends supported whoever they wanted to support, and there was a bias. I'm listening to you and can't stop crying. Just filed last week and my emotions are running high. Thankfully, took the decision to reach out to friends and share. And sometimes you have to let these emotions out. It is very strong. So those of you that want to join the WhatsApp group, do email me and I will chat to you about that. Tapping is awesome. Yeah, I've tried it. We had it in our face-to-face support group that I run. We had a lady who's amazing. She came in and she did tapping and I cried so much. Everyone in the room cried and released, and it really helped us. The conversation changed and the negativity was different, because ultimately we feel negative, but we want to change that to a positive energy. Anne is an advanced EFT practitioner. Brilliant. You'll know more about it than me. Happy to chat on my experience. Thank you so much for offering that. EMDR therapy is amazing, not so well known, but up and coming. I'd love to know more about that. I don't know too much about that. I've done weeks of therapy, thank you, thanks to my eldest's suggestion, changed my life big time. It really does change your life. I have to say my therapist changed my life and really helped me see positive things. And this was one referred by the GP, but also this person who came and offered me free help. Hypnotherapy is awesome, yes. Definitely does help. Can you suggest good hypnotherapists? Yes. Insight Timer is good, YouTube is good. And yes, I can suggest a hypnotherapist and I can give you details in the email. Is HDMR therapy okay to do before going for proceedings? I don't really know too much about it, so I wouldn't like to suggest. Maybe speak to a practitioner if you know one. I don't know anybody who does any therapy like that. And to be honest, I don't know too much about it. Sorry, this is a financial question. If you have a personal pension via work and you've only added money to the pot, is it still classed as an asset? Yes, it's still money. Even though you can't access it today, it's still an asset because one day you will be able to access it. So it's still, all your pensions should be valued and added as an asset. Generally, obviously there are exceptions to that. If my husband is self-employed and I have a pension as I work for NHS, and it was a horribly abusive relationship leading to husband being arrested, am I supposed to share my pension? So your pension is an asset and that is not linked to necessarily what has happened. If there has been financial abuse, then, you know, maybe things could be different, but and things might be set up differently because behavior can be used as a reason why one person should get more. But your pension should be listed as an asset. It doesn't mean it's going to be shared. I was asked to get a MyAM certificate as the court would ask for it. Is that correct? Hopefully I've answered that. Okay, so you did get the replay for yesterday at 9:41 today. I'm glad you got it. That's the most important thing. Okay, I'll take a few more questions because I know I've gone way over. I love sharing, and so I end up talking a lot. Do you have any suggestions how to handle it when you know that your ex will just oppose anything you suggest on financial and child settlement and give very little away himself? Okay, this is a very big question and it depends on so many things. So it's really difficult to answer. You have to use psychology. You have to understand who you're dealing with. You need to have awareness of that person and how you say things, how you write things, what you even offer. Sometimes, and I do this 4-day session on how to divorce a narcissist. And with narcissists, you have to divorce them in a very specific way because of that personality. And so you need to deal with, you know, the other person, understanding who they are, because ultimately you want to get to a settlement. If they give away very little themselves, then maybe you also need to keep your cards close to your chest until they are ready to share as well. So it's difficult for me to say because I need to know a lot more. I love that. Live the life you deserve. Yes, please, and thank you. Brilliant. That's what we're going for. Okay, so I'm going to take this as the last question. How did you tell your ex? That's the step that's making me anxious. He knows it's on the horizon and he has previously mentioned divorce when he demanded money from me in order for him to leave. I'm struggling emotionally, so would appreciate hearing an example of what to say. And again, it's really different for different people. I felt that when I sat down to have that conversation 13 years ago today, it was a very different conversation because I had discovered things that maybe that although I knew the divorce should be coming, I found it hard to take that step. I needed a reason to take that step. Some of that is the shame of divorce. Some of it is the stigma of it. Some of it is, as a lawyer, I feel like there always has to be something that I'm holding on to. I also needed something to propel me to take that step because it's so hard to say it. But what I did when I was going through this and I was struggling to say the words, I did this exercise which helped me really visualize what I was going to do. I looked at my life today and I wrote about that. Wrote about if I didn't get divorced, what would my life look like in 5 years, 10 years, and 1 year? If I got divorced, what could my life look like in 1 year, 10 years, and 5 years as well? And then when I looked at that, I could see why I needed to do it. I also did this whole thing of pros and cons, the advantages of staying in the marriages and the disadvantages of staying in the marriage, the advantages of leaving the marriage and the disadvantages. And I could see quite clearly that I had to leave. And so these things helped me have that conversation. When I had the conversation, I made sure that he was aware that I wanted it to be amicable. We didn't need to tell everybody what happened, that I wanted to do this with dignity and with respect and love for each other, because we'd had this 15-year journey. We're going to have a longer journey with the children. And actually, he was quite respectful, and we talked about the past, tried not to go too much into the past, because that's where the conversation then gets lost. Every time we talked too much about the past, I would bring it back to the future and how to move forward. I don't know if anybody else has got suggestions of how they told the other person, because it is such a personal thing. So think about how you could say it and how other people could, other people have done it. Somebody's asked, I have a lawyer, but I do want to keep the cost low, and I've been following you for a very long time. I want to go ahead and tell him that I'm starting again. Want it amicable. Can I speak to you? Yes, absolutely. Fill in that form, and then we'll reach out to you. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there because I know that there are questions there. Okay, that's great. So thank you so much for being here. I would love to hear your feedback on how you have found this. I love to know how things are coming up for you. I'll definitely share the information that I've mentioned, the charities, and a few other bits that maybe could be helpful for you. So I'll definitely share that with you. I will share the replay, so look out for that. And what we'll do is in an email, we'll send all 4 days replays in one place, so you can watch them back. For the person that wants to join my other 4-day course, I'm not sure when that's going to be yet, but yes, they will be on my YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe and you'll see them coming up, but also I'll be emailing you as soon as that is happening, so you can join that as well. Really nice to be here. Thank you for almost celebrating this milestone with me over the 4 days. It really helps me to be able to share what I've been through. You guys help me with that. And I hope that what I am sharing with you helps you too. Gratitude is magic. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for all of your time, all of your messages, all of you reaching out to me in different ways. It makes it really special for me to be able to share with you. And I hope that you've got something from this as well. Hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you've had some hope, inspiration. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. We get through it, and families can find a better way together of being different, but still being a family. So I wish that for you. I wish you all the best and hope to see you very soon. Do take care. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you all.